Well, it was a good run. Toronto FC lose 3-1 to the Seattle Sounders in MLS Cup. You know, this was a Cinderella run for TFC. Jozy Altidore, Omar Gonzalez, both hurt for all the playoff run, basically. The team was nowhere close to a playoff spot in early August. This team should not have been here. And not only did we make it to MLS Cup, we got a fantastic game at home in the playoffs, which was not looking like a possibility in early August. And I think what TFC have accomplished since mid-August is a miraculous, crazy thing that should be celebrated. It's probably one of the better runs in MLS history. This team did not have a guy who was a shoo-in to just dominate every game. Pozuelo was slow and tired because he's played basically almost 2 full seasons of soccer in a row now. Jozy Altidore in and out of injury, and even when he was in the lineup in the regular season, he didn't seem like he was fully there. This run by Toronto FC is just a testament to what a team can do when they all come together and all pull together and all want to dominate and play strong as a team. This was not a team being dragged through the mud by a couple designated players, or a team even lifted up by otherworldly designated players. We did not have a Josef Martinez, a Carlos Vela, a Wayne Rooney, a Zlatan Ibrahimovic. We did not have a player of that caliber on this team, and yet we were able to overcome teams that had those players. We beat Josef Martinez. We beat Wayne Rooney. Every playoff game was a hard-fought match, and we went through and won all 3 games in the Eastern Conference to get to MLS Cup, and that is something that should be celebrated. MLS Cup itself. Today, TFC in the first half were fantastic. It was just the type of performance that TFC needed in the first half. They had the better chances. They had 65% of the possession. They were dominating the play. But then in the second half, Seattle came out and just fully took control of the game, took it by the neck. And then the own goal by Justin Morrow happened in the 57th minute. And after that, I think TFC, their mental state just kind of deteriorated. That own goal just took a lot out of this team, and they were not able to fully recover, giving up 2 more goals. They got one back in stoppage time after being down 3-0. Jozy Altidore, coming back from injury, he looked really good for someone who had not played for a month. And then he gets a header from 15 yards out. He's able to put that much pace on a header. That was just a fantastic goal by Altidore, but it wasn't enough, and Toronto FC could not come back. And it's incredibly unfortunate that Toronto FC were not able to take MLS Cup and win MLS Cup for a second time in 3 years. But I think what this team accomplished this season is absolutely miraculous, and it should be cherished. That 13-game unbeaten run from August 10th onwards, absolutely legendary. We had Quentin Westberg's absolutely phenomenal season. He was this team's MVP. Without Quentin Westberg, none of this happens. He kept Toronto FC in so many games this season, kept Toronto FC in all 3 playoff games. He was the MVP of the year. Richie Larea, Toronto boy, picked up off of waivers because Orlando City SC didn't want him. We turned him from a nobody to a guy who now starts for the Canadian national team. What an absolute turnaround he had this season. Tsubasa Endo went from not being invited back to the team from 2018 to being signed to a TFC 2-only contract for the second half of last year to being a full-time starter for this squad in the second half of this season. What an absolutely fantastic turn in his development for Tsubasa Endo to become a true MLS player. Marky Delgado is absolutely fantastic. Liam Fraser, every time he played a game, just better and better every time. And most of all, Greg Vanney. The Fire Vanney squad was out in full force late July, early August. I wanted him gone too. Everyone said he was not the man for this job. He could not fix Toronto FC, and because the team he had on paper in 2018 should not have performed as poorly as they did. And then he just wasn't able to figure out the season. And then he just clicked it all together. And Vanney I have to say, not very many coaches can have a team that they've had for years turn into a losing side and then be able to turn them back into a winning side. Most coaches cannot change them back to winning and get fired. Greg Vanney did it. And with that, Greg Vanney solidifies himself as the greatest coach in TFC history, 100%. He is the only good coach TFC has ever had, and because of this run, I think he's going to be managing TFC for years to come. And even this season, young guys who didn't play as much down the stretch after we got some more players, but showed potential earlier in the season. Jacob Schaffelberg was absolutely fantastic when he was getting in games, even though that was while we were on our losing run. Liam Fraser I've already mentioned. Ayo Akinola had flashes of brilliance earlier in the season. This team just seems like they have the tools to keep building on what they have, and I think that we will continue to be a contender for years to come. But moving on to what's probably the biggest piece of news surrounding Toronto FC after this last game to the 2019 MLS season. Michael Bradley. Had we won MLS Cup, the option for Michael Bradley's contract next year would have automatically been activated, and he would have continued to be a designated player for another year. However, because we lose, that does not get activated. And as important as Michael Bradley is to this team, I don't see Toronto FC wanting him for another season for $6.5 million. However, Michael Bradley does seem like he wants to stay in Toronto. And, well, I think signing him to a designated player contract right now is very ill-advised, especially because Liam Fraser is your homegrown player, young guy who can basically plays the exact same game in the exact same position as Bradley does and has shown that he can do it quite well, and hell, even played against Michael Bradley in the Canada-US game and was on the winning team. I think Liam Fraser is ready to be a starter in MLS. So there is a bit of debate if we even still need Bradley, but I think Bradley loves Toronto. He is such an important factor in this locker room. I think even not in the same playing role as he was in this season, in a reduced role on a targeted allocation money deal, Michael Bradley is a much needed player for TFC to have. And then if we can keep Michael Bradley in a TAM deal and then add another designated player, well, now magic's gonna happen. But all in all, I like the direction that this Toronto FC team is taking. Maybe get younger on the back end. Their center back group is very, very old. They're almost all north of 30. It's a bit of a problem, and they're all declining, which is going to be a problem down the road. So center back group needs to get a bit younger, but besides that, this team is completely ready, I think, to make another run next season, especially giving Pozuelo a couple months off to rest, because he didn't get that this year because he came straight from a season in Belgium to start playing with us. So yes, in the end, well, I am upset that Toronto FC did not win MLS Cup 2019. We were not supposed to be there, so I think just the run we had was just absolutely brilliant, and I am so proud of what this team has done this season. I am so happy that they did what they did. If you told me in July that we would be an MLS Cup, I would not believe you. So just an absolutely fantastic season for Toronto FC. It's a shame we couldn't get the title. It's a shame we couldn't get the second star, but I think that the team should be very proud of what they've accomplished because they did what many thought was impossible. So yeah, that does it for this video and for this season of Toronto FC. If you liked it, hit like. If you want to see more of my stuff, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, link is down below in the description, and I will see you next time.